why is my click-through rate lower on display advertising than, say, paid search advertising?
I think that it's natural, right? It's not just you, it's everyone. And there's a real reason for that. It's because, once again, there's kind of a fundamental difference between search and display advertising. With search, you're talking about people who are raising their hand. They're saying, hey, I want to buy a car, right? They're on Google, they're saying, Mercedes, or they're saying Nissan, or they're saying luxury car, or economical sedan. They're putting those queries in Google because they're basically saying, hey, I want a car.
Yeah.
Or it's basically the equivalent of them coming to your dealership, knocking on your door and saying, hey, let's talk, right?
Yeah.
Whereas display advertising is, they're not raising that hand. It's more passive advertising, right? Because they're browsing content online. They might be on YouTube looking at an auto video. They might be browsing an automotive blog. They might be on a parts site or a forum or a blog or something like that that's related to auto, but they're not necessarily in that, they're not in that moment, they're not in that buying mindset, right? They're not actively searching to buy a car. So that's why they're going to be clicking a lot less, because they're not actively looking for it. But it's still really worthwhile because you can plant the seed and you can reach people who might not be at that moment thinking of buying a car,
yeah,
but it's still on their mind somewhere, right? Because we're only targeting those people who need a car. So you might be able to get in their mind, and that way when they do a search, they might think of you better, and they also might click on your display ad to see what you got, especially if you have a compelling advertisement. And I think one last thing is, I think that click-through rates don't really matter, just because you only pay for the click. So you don't pay for your impression, you don't pay for anything other than an actual click. So the rate at which people click doesn't really matter, because you're only paying when they do click. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. It can be a good signifier of how well you're doing, your performance in terms of how you're resonating with the audience. But in terms of what you pay, it doesn't really matter.